Don't wanna demand it, I've done what I can. And I never mentioned the times you were rude. And I never mentioned when you hear the truth. Scared to lose it all, I won't stand a chance. And I don't wanna fake it. What if I can't walk away? You got me staying away, hoping I don't make the same mistake. Unresolved, maybe it's madness. I'm begging you, please pick up the call. You're causing me damage. I should've known, wasn't your fault. Don't even matter. I wasn't thinking clear, trying to take it there. Scared to lose it all, I won't stand a chance. And I don't wanna fake it. What if I can't walk away? You got me standing in the rain, hoping I don't make the same mistake. Mistake. Hoping I
next to me. I can't pretend. You've got me feeling like you're where I wanna be, wanna be. Please don't let me go, I need you right here by my side. So won't you run away with me tonight? You could be the one that I've been wanting all my life. Cause when you're looking at me with those eyes, I don't wanna leave, I need you, we could be the light. So won't you run away with me tonight? I could be the one that you've been wanting all your life. Cause I know that I'm ready to go down to the brighter side. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, down to the brighter side. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, down to the brighter side. All at once, you take it all so well, and I'm mesmerized, mesmerized. I know it's hard, but you can rest your mind. It'll be alright, be alright. I don't wanna leave, I need you, we could be the light. So won't you run away with me tonight? I could be the one that you've been wanting all your life. Cause I know that I'm ready to go down to the brighter side. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, la 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 la. La la la, down to the brighter side.
in my head like a melody. Laying back in this bed, playing back what you said, and it's not really helping me. Coming down from this high is a dangerous ride. I'm coasting, out of body floating, lost in my emotions. I've been spinning slowly, trying to keep my head above water. Then you go and pull me under. Crazy thing, I know I'm done for, stuck in this state of wonder.
Yes, 빠지게 돼 I don't care 모든 것을 대해 전부 있게 돼 And I just want you right here with me 끝이 없이 우린 floating Lost in your deep oceans 깊이 스며가 slowly
Trying to keep my head above water. Then you go and pull me under. Crazy thing, I know I'm done for, stuck in this state of wonder. Stuck in this state of wonder, yeah. Stuck in this state of wonder. Trying to keep my head above water. Then you go and pull me under. Crazy thing, I know I'm done for, stuck in this state of wonder. Wonder. Stuck in this state of wonder.
You're not as cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. You're not as cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Motherfucker, stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. You're not as cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Motherfucker, stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You're not as cold as me. I don't give a fuck. Cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Cold as me. Motherfucker, stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop. In a world of time and speed. Motherfucker, stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You're not as I don't give a fuck. Hold this me. Hold this me. Hold this me. Hold this me. Motherfucker, stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop pretending. Stop.
In my heart, you're back again. The start of nothing. I felt it hard, you came me in. Caught in the wings of love. Was it all to pass the time? But you had to leave behind empty promises or feelings lingering. Your shadow lives here in my head. You're all through my veins, I'm frozen. The flashback echoes back again. Your love is a chain unbroken. Your love is a chain unbroken. Your shadow lives here in my head. You're all through my veins, I'm frozen. The flashback echoes back again. Your love is a chain unbroken. The sun goes down, you're back again. Still got me hoping. We're hand in hand, hold me up. Feels like a dream, your touch. Was it all to pass the time? But you had to leave behind. No apologies, no feelings lingering. Your shadow lives here in my head. You're all through my veins, I'm frozen. The flashback echoes back again. Your love is a chain unbroken. Your love is a chain unbroken. Oh, your love is a chain unbroken. Oh, your love is a chain unbroken.
What is up, LvLUp Nation, and welcome to the Monday, February 8th edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco, I'll tell you what, you can call me John. It's a little bit easier. And that dude vibing next to me, it's the king of the courtside. Joey, what's up, buddy?
It's been all right, John. Super Bowl yesterday was interesting for some, not as interesting for many others. I did enjoy my bets on it. As far as action goes, though, it really wasn't super back and forth. It felt like Tampa Bay pretty much handled the Chiefs pretty handily. So overall, not a ton of excitement as far as the back and forth shootout that a lot of people were expecting. But it did get us to today, John. We made it through the Super Bowl. We made it to today. And on top of today, we've had a lot of gaming and esports news already this week. And I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty spicy week leading into a pretty spicy month and spring ahead.
Joey, I do have to ask you, you did bring up the Super Bowl. I know I'm suffering a little bit from this, but do you have any Super Bowl hangover from all the partying that no one did yesterday?
Not a ton of that, but I did not sleep last night. That is a
there you
fact. I woke up around 3:30 and I've been up ever since. So I'm a little on the tired side. These vibing cats keeping me alive over here in chat tonight on Twitch, though.
All right, Nation, make sure you follow the show on social media. LvLUp Live is available on Twitter and Facebook at LvLUp Live. That is at LvLUp Live. And while you're on Twitter, you're already watching the show, you're already familiar with us, you might as well follow us on Twitter as well. Find Joey at Courtside King and myself at Fiasco. If you're listening to the podcast version later on down the road, they'll be in the show notes for you below. But if you're watching here live on Twitch, what up, Twitch fam? You can catch those underneath the mugshot you're currently staring at on your handheld device, computer, and or other mobile device, whatever you're using to stream. You can find it right there. Just right there. Simple as that. And Nation, as I did say, there is a podcast version of the show. The LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening to the podcast version already, do us a little favor. We don't ask much. We don't ask much at all. We just ask you to leave us a really cool review. Good, bad, negative, positive, critical feedback, whatever it may be, we want your feedback. We want to make this show custom for what you, our listeners and viewers, want. If there's a topic you want us to hit on, if there's a certain kind of game, certain esport league you want us to hit on, let us know. We want to make this show the best possible show can be for you, our listeners and viewers. So leave us that feedback. It's always appreciated. All right, Joey, it is jam-packed, and that might even be an understatement for today's show. In 50 words or less, I'm going to make this a little challenging because I'm totally going to be counting. What are we talking about today?
John, we're talking about gaming and esports on today's episode.
I see what you did there. I appreciate that. Under 50 words. Congratulations. You got the under on that bet, sir. Anything in specific you want to dabble and tease or?
Honestly, guys, so we're going to get through a little bit of nitty gritty stuff up front as far as acquisitions and roster moves. Then we have a lot of opinion stuff for chat coming up after that. The Nemesis system that Warner Brothers has ended up getting patented. So a lot of different feedback on that one. Terraria is going through some stuff with Google Stadia. We're going to be hitting on that. ESA and Summer Game Fest. Both news came out today for both those and what they're looking like for summer 2021. We have Xbox Development Camp updates, a few other things here and there, some game releases, and much more.
Xbox propaganda on top of a whole bunch of other stuff. Joey, I'm not going to call anybody out there on that. Joey, we have a ton that we're trying to pack in today's episode, which means we're going to need a little assistance in the form of a beverage. So, of course, I'm talking about our drink of choice segment. And if I'm just going off of my memory, usually the Monday after the Super Bowl, a lot of people are trying to give their liver a chance to recover. Joey, is this Monday, the Monday after the Super Bowl, post-Super Bowl hangover day, are you partaking in No Drink Monday?
I'm drinking something, but not alcohol. I have some flat water, as well as I got a seltzer over here just to make things slightly more interesting, a sparkling lime water seltzer from Trader Joe's. So nothing absolutely interesting. It's not mixed with anything, but yeah, it's one of those times, like you said, John, you drink quite a bit at the Super Bowl if you're above the age of 21. We don't solicit under the age of 21, but we know people are out there doing that as well. So that's one of those things. Like the Super Bowl is a big party. A lot of people eat a lot of people drink a lot, and then they end up having things afterwards. For us, that thing afterwards is LvLUp. So we're taking it a little easier tonight, or at least I am, John.
I am too. You actually saw this if you watched the Super Bowl. They had a commercial with John Cena for this one. I had it before. It was cool, just FYI. Mountain Dew, Major Melon. Quite possibly one of the best flavors Mountain Dew has ever come out with. If you don't like the original Mountain Dew flavor, this is like a completely different flavor. It doesn't taste anything like OG Mountain Dew. It's a watermelon flavored Mountain Dew, Joey. It's fantastic. And yes, it does mix well with vodka, as I did that yesterday. Today, it is not mixed with anything because I, too, am giving my liver a much-needed rest after abusing it like crazy yesterday. So, Joey, we have a little bit of our topics teased out there. We have a whole bunch more to talk about today as well. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go.
I do want to waste one more minute, though.
Okay.
The watermelon drink, is it more like watermelon in the sense that it's like, I guess, less potent than other fruits, or does it still have like a very potent flavor to it?
Oh, no, you definitely know it's watermelon. Think of it like, it reminds me a lot of the watermelon Jolly Rancher carbonated.
Oh, okay.
It is really, really good. And this is actually, they came out with the Mountain Dew Zero version of it as well. And it has a ton of flavor. A lot of times diet or zero version of sodas don't have a lot of flavor. This actually kicks. I think it tastes better than the original. That's just me, my own humble opinion. But it slaps. I think it's great. It's by far one of the best things Mountain Dew's done in a long time.
Absolutely. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out. But for now, we're going to dive into some roster moves before heading into some other partnerships. Kicking things off, John, in Valorant, T1 has said goodbye to Valorant players. Two really talented players in Brax and AZK. So these are players who are around since the beginning of Valorant. Some of the top players when it came to North America, especially. They've absolutely popped off in the scene of Valorant. They've made names for themselves. They really made T1 a name for itself as well. Now we see them deciding to part ways here. Again, not really sure on too many of the details here as far as diving into why this is happening, but T1 letting go two pretty talented players here to make some moves for their roster.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors floating around. Just maybe they weren't performing up to what T1 was expecting. Again, just rumors. But yeah, two very talented players as well. So it is kind of curious as to find out why T1 did release them. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. Hopefully there's no cheating scandals. Hopefully there's no like toxic behavior or anything like that. But two talented players leaving T1. Possible second chance opportunity with other organizations coming up. So keep an eye out for those moves.
Absolutely. And we've seen a lot of Valorant moves lately. We saw Fnatic pick up a roster recently, Team Vitality as well. So this could be a move where we see those players integrated into a new roster, or maybe, I don't know, a TSM or Team Liquid or Cloud9 or someone else is looking to shift a player or two. This is where you could see them potentially plug and play in different rosters as well. North Esports has decided to disband all of their teams and dissolve their organization due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't think that's the only reason. I feel like we have seen some stuff with North where they haven't really shown the success that we expected in esports like CSGO and a couple other esports titles they participate in. But overall, COVID-19 has not been pleasant. The effects of it worldwide in general, but on esports too. A number of events have been canceled, both in person and online. You've seen a lot of visa issues come up as a result of it as well. Traveling to events for this shoe happening in person has really been obsolete too. So with all the seasonal moves, all the changes, all of the roster changes due to visas, it kind of makes sense that we start to see some of these organizations really struggling during the pandemic. The smaller orgs like North, it's going to be hard to stay on board. It's if you're not a Cloud9, a G2, a Fnatic, a Team Liquid, someone who has a lot of very big backing, someone who has a lot of success really in the esports scene in general, it becomes a little bit harder to find a reason to stay around or find that funding to stay around as well. So unfortunately, North, even though they did make a name for themselves in quite a few cool moves over there in CSGO for a while in some of these major tournaments, they unfortunately will fold up due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Esports is not, the only the only ecosystem affected by the ongoing pandemic. In fact, we've seen esports kind of be that saving grace for the source of entertainment. But unfortunately, they're not bulletproof when it comes to the pandemic as well. So it's unfortunate to see North Esports disband all of their teams. Maybe they might make a comeback later on down the road. We don't know. But it is unfortunate North Esports shutting the door here on their teams and dissolving their organization due to that pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a league, but one comparison here a little bit is the XFL. When it came down to the pandemic, the XFL as a sports league completely shut down. Now it looks like they're going to return probably 2022, maybe 2023. Gosh, my throat is killing me today. 2022, 2023, depending on how this all shakes out COVID-wise. I think it could be similar here with some of these esports orgs. Some of them will roll up permanently. Some of them may look for funders down the road. Maybe they say, hey, we can't hold on to rosters for now. We just are not making enough in tournament winnings. There's not enough events to satisfy what we're looking for. Whatever the reason, maybe they fold up for now, look for another investor down the road. We've seen a lot of new orgs pop up. We've seen a lot of older orgs get really merged into other orgs as well. So I think this is one of those things that as the pandemic really continues on with more vaccinations going out, as things continue to change, as more things open up, maybe we do eventually see the return of either some of these players, some of these organizations, some of these events or tournaments in different areas that we might not quite expect, but could be coming back after this particular pandemic passes. Over to acquisitions, just a couple to hit on here. We're going to dive into one of them, but two to hit on before that. Meteorize has acquired Alpha System, and Leaf Mobile has acquired Eastside Games for $125 million. So go ahead and keep an eye on both of those. They're two different ones coming out as smaller acquisitions, not quite on the scale of what we've seen Tencent do, what we've seen Embracer Group do recently, but two acquisitions all the same, and they will add to that end of year total that we saw. It was something like $20 billion, I think, last year in acquisitions for gaming. Now this year, between Tencent and Embracer already splashing the cash, we know a number of other orgs like PlayStation and Microsoft are in talks, Amazon as well. It's very likely we get a big total here. And $125 million for one of these deals, plus the other deal being factored in. It's nothing small, nothing in the billions yet for those two, but we do have $1 billion deal to talk about. That is EA. They have acquired a mobile game publisher in Blue Mobile. Glue Mobile is publicly traded as well under the ticker GLUU, so they are a public company. One of the cool things about this is the fact that it did happen. Usually when a big company like this is publicly traded, you do hear a little bit more of it before it becomes public. This one in particular kind of slid under the radar. Not too many articles, not too many posts, really no insider leaks on it as well. It did get bought out. I believe it was like $12.50 a share is what EA is paying for this one, which will result in somewhere around $2.1 billion. For those of you who don't know what Glue Mobile is, they're a publisher of mobile games. Some of the big ones are the MLB Tap Sports Baseball, Design Home, Covet Fashion. I believe they have the contract with Kim Kardashian as well. So for those of you who are really into stuff like the Kardashians, she has her contract with Glue Mobile as well. So you kind of tie in a lot of that e-stardom as well. Being able to flip all of that into a mobile game aspect and sell that out to your audience is very not only volatile, but really incremental in today's day and age. We see a lot of that coming up with really good results in mobile game platforms. So EA, once again, showing that they are going out willing to make acquisitions, doing it here for $2.1 billion for Glue Mobile.
Look at that, Joey. LvLUp Live keeping up with the Kardashians. I like it.
Yeah, we try our best. I know, John, you've talked about mobile games. We talked about it last week, and we all know your opinion on that, whether the podcast listeners, live listeners, and me, myself, and I. I think this is a big deal regardless, though, and I think part of the reason with this whole Glue Mobile aspect is the Tap Sports Baseball. So Glue Mobile is one of those developers that's known for making sports games, and after our EA earnings call, what they say, 6 FIFA games, if I remember correctly, is what they're loading on. So not even including all their other sport franchises that they do, they're looking at 6 FIFA games alone. Bringing on a well-known mobile game developer is probably a good way to at least get your ground started, your foundation for that, and then expand from there. So again, just with that in mind, I think this is a great deal. With everything else as well, it becomes a very good deal.
Yeah, EA had their own baseball title back in the early 2000s with MVP Baseball, and then kind of went by the wayside when they lost the MLB rights to produce the simulation game for it to 2K and then ultimately to Sony. So it's good that EA is getting back into baseball, even if it is just mobile. But no, I agree. Aside from the fact that I'm not a huge mobile gaming fan, this is still a major move for EA to really dive deeper into the mobile market as well. Their mobile version of FIFA, their mobile version of Madden, yeah, it is popular. But getting a developer like a Glue Mobile in under your brand as well is going to help open you up to a lot more opportunities to expand your company, now EA, further along into the mobile gaming universe as well. So it's a very smart move by EA, but it does come at a price tag with that $2.1 billion price tag you mentioned, Joey.
Well, it's one of the other things they can do is share technology. Like EA has some successful games out there. FIFA does pretty well on a global stage, what they already have out there. But Glue Mobile with hits like MLB Tap Baseball, Design Home, the Kardashian stuff, they've had multiple hits on that top 50, top 10 list a number of different times. Now you come in with developers who've done it multiple times before. They probably have some kind of technology they utilize that can be shared with that EA ecosystem as well. So bringing someone like Glue on, especially in a day and age where mobile games are just absolutely popping off all over the world, especially in Asia, I think this is a good move of EA. They're not necessarily super early on in the move, but picking up someone as big as Glue now, as opposed to what their price could be in, 5 years or so, this could be a really good move for them. So I do like the investment coming out here, even with the price tag of $2.1 billion. One other just comparison to make, when Microsoft bought Minecraft, I think it was around $2 billion as well. That valuation is through the roof now. Again, not saying Glue Mobile is the next Minecraft. I don't think that comparison can be made, but just making these investments a little bit earlier on than people think might be the time to do it can result in quite a bit of revenue down the road. Over to partnerships and investments, we have Team Liquid. They've announced a new apparel collaboration I did not see coming with popular anime and manga Naruto. TL will showcase some of the anime's main characters across a range of apparel items. John, are you about to jump all ooh-woo into this collection?
No, I've looked at it. I'm actually not a fan. So here's what I'm going to do here real quick for our fantastic viewers on Twitch. So fun fact, not even available on the Team Liquid webpage yet. So you have to go to a third-party site to get some of these samples of what they're putting out here. No, I think anime companies put out better merchandise than this. And this has nothing to do with me being a Cloud9 fan. This is my fashion designer opinion here. I just don't think it's anything special. Okay, cool. So you have Naruto on there, and then you have a Team Liquid logo on there as well. Like, that's literally it. Scrolling down here, a denim jacket with both logos on it. Very edgy, very cutting edge right there. Technology wise, super, super special. It doesn't excite me. Like, I've seen what Team Liquid's done with their Marvel partnership and some of the other merch lines they've put out there. They put out some great looking products. This one, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to hit that anime section of fandom for Team Liquid. But just from a design standpoint, in comparison to everything else they offer, this might be my least favorite product line they've put out so far.
Wait, is that the only stuff they're showing so far? So far,
yeah. I checked their website. I checked other articles. These are the main two images that pop up.
There's a lot more than that.
If you can send me some links.
I don't know where it is. Well, anyway, guys, there is going to be a number of different things. I think there's many more items than those two.
There are, yeah.
I haven't seen them all yet, but I think they are a little bit more dramatic in design than those two. Of those two you showed, though, John, I agree. I don't think they're anything special. Having Naruto on the back of a shirt, yay, exciting. I think you get more exciting stuff from that, from some kind of anime apparel. When you go to the other side as well, the jacket, okay, it's got two logos. That's nice. I could get my own jean jacket and sew those on, to be honest. So, yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, okay, maybe they're not the most unique in that sense. I think as we see more of the collection, and again, maybe it's just me from a marketing standpoint, but I feel like if I was going to have this collection pop off at the beginning, the two items I would have shared would probably have been a lot more exciting than the two they chose to share here. But maybe they're just holding back for some kind of later reveal coming down the road. But yeah, for now, I think it's going to sell out. Team Liquid merch always sells out. I think it's going to hit, like you said, John, the anime populace of the Team Liquid fans, which their fandom is huge. So it's definitely a possibility that this will sell out very quickly as well. But yeah, as far as uniqueness, when it came with the Marvel jerseys, I mean, they did what? Captain America, Iron Man. I think there's one more I'm missing. I feel like that they did a good job on. But the jerseys were unique. The material was very different from some of the other jerseys out there on the market. And again, Marvel is such a huge logo in and of itself as well. So we'll have to see how this pairs out. I think it's one thing to keep an eye on as we go.
So there actually is a video. So I found two more images, one of a jacket, again, with a patch of both logos, a very simplistic design there. Then the hoodie, which again, 99% Naruto, 1% Team Liquid with the name and the logo on the back.
And the coloring.
I mean, again, just it's very basic in comparison to some of the other stuff they have out here. I don't know how long this video is. It's a 1 minute video.
Yeah, let's watch it.
Okay, Okay, it's not gonna let me go full screen. Oh well, whatever. We'll do small screen inside of big screen. Okay, so the hoodie that we've already seen, shocker, but just kind of talking through here, like, okay, a lot of hoodies, a lot of tie-dye. Apparently tie-dye's making a comeback, Joey. I don't know about you. I'm not a fan of tie-dye, but that, it's whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It honestly looks like every single piece of Naruto merch already out there with Team Liquid slapped on it. Like, you can go into FYE, you can go into Hot Topic, you can go into any pop culture store, if you will, and find almost these identical same Naruto merch, and all it's going to have is a Team Liquid logo slapped on it with the words Team Liquid on it. Again, in comparison to some of their other product lines, this one so far from this video and the pictures they've given, I mean, Joey, you and I both like anime. I'm not excited about this at all. Like, I just think this is very standard anime merch with a Team Liquid logo. There we go. Placed on it.
A Team Logo Liquid.
Team Logo Liquid. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I feel like it might be a missed opportunity a bit as well. And maybe we haven't seen everything yet. I would love for whoever the anime artist is or the manga artist to do some kind of drawing of Team Liquid. Give us some kind of like mini Naruto style comic of Team Liquid doing something. I think that would have been cool with this collab. I think of like, the plates they wear on their heads and their arms in different places. Throw that one up. Give the little steel plate with the blue band. Throw a Team Liquid logo up on that. Now we're talking. You hit the anime audience. They can flare their team with Team Liquid. It's simple. It's easy. It sells out. It's easy to make tons of copies of as well. So I don't know. I feel like there's a couple items here that they probably could have hit on that are still with that simplistic feel. But at the same point, it kind of deepens that collaboration between the two as well.
Just wait for the League of Legends team for Team Liquid to come out rocking those headbands for one of their games. Guaranteed.
Dude, I think that would be great. And then as long as they don't lose to Immortals, it'd be awesome. Which we will talk about later. Jon, over to some other news. Again, we're just going to keep it rolling today, guys, because we do have a lot to cover. Activision-Blizzard's Q4 earnings report. Wow, we both need to learn how to speak today. Generated net revenues of $2.41 billion in Q4 of 2020. Jon, that is up 22% year over year, with a net profit of $508 million in the fourth quarter there. On top of that, for the full year of 2020, Activision earned $2.2 billion with net revenue. On top of that, the total being $8.1 billion. So over the course of 2020 in the pandemic, they brought in $8.1 billion, turning $2.2 billion of that into revenue. Again, a very big number, especially in a year where a lot of different companies and a lot of different genres of companies struggled in general. Gaming absolutely surged. Activision getting a lot of that surge benefit. So $2.2 billion. Call of Duty, you can guarantee, had a very big aspect of that. Jon, but anything else you want to hit on here? I know we dove pretty hard into earnings reports when we talked about Microsoft, Sony, and EA last week. Is there anything else you want to touch on with Activision-Blizzard, specifically with BlizzCon coming up later on what is it, 2 weeks away at this point, I think?
Yeah. Hey, Blizzard, how about you hire everyone you laid off the other year? If you're pulling in $8.1 billion in profit, I feel like, you laid hundreds of people off. For whatever reason you want to go out there, but I'm sorry, you turned an $8.1 billion profit. You're going to sit here and tell me that you can't rehire those 500 people that you fired. That'd be at a couple $1 million there, 8.1 billion. And you're going to continue with layoffs and downsizing of everything. Okay. I get it. Obviously the people at the top of the pyramid want to keep the money. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, a lot of people lost their jobs in the middle of a pandemic, are struggling. The Los Angeles area is not exactly the cheapest place in the country to live. And you pushed about 500 plus people out the door because you wanted to cut costs at an $8.1 billion profit. How about you rehire them? Leave it there.
Spicy take, but yeah, we've hit on that before. They also closed the office over in Versailles as well. I think at this point, and I could be wrong, I feel like with everyone going out there and buying developers and buying up talent, I think Activision will be smarter about holding on to their talent moving forward. Hopefully even buying more talent and giving more jobs as well. But again, you can never tell with these companies as things ebbs and flow. 2020 was a huge year for gaming, but that doesn't necessarily promise that 2021 will hold on to that growth. As things open up, we could see a decline in gaming as well. So it's one of those things to monitor, and we don't really know how it'll play out. But yeah, for now, Activision bringing in quite a bit of revenue with $2.2 billion on net revenue. Okay, Jon, this next one in chat, I'm curious to get your opinions for those of you with us tonight here live. This has been a very hotly contested topic all over the internet for the last couple of days. A lot of people coming in and saying that they took a approach they should have taken. It's their system. They should stick with it. Other people coming in and saying this is not fair. When you look at gaming in general, there are shared ideas, and that's how games are able to build upon one another. So a lot of negative feedback, a lot of positive feedback on this decision. The decision: Warner Brothers Interactive secured a patent to the Nemesis system used in Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War after multiple failed previous attempts. So not the first time. Again, I think they've done this. I think it's like 5 or 6 times they've tried for this patent. It eventually did get approved on this last chance. For those of you who don't know what the Nemesis system is, it kind of takes a little bit of these, let's say the framework of Assassin's Creed with the way it works, but it adds different layers to it. So let's say Jon is this big boss in Lord of the Rings, Shadow of War. So he's up here at the top of this pyramid, and Jon has all these little underlings under him. So maybe he has a lord under him, and that lord surveys 5 different other people. And then under those 5 different people, there's 10 other little henchmen or whatever. So it's kind of like a tier down hierarchy system. Now, if I, as the heroine or the hero in this particular example, this is going way off where I was expecting to go with this. I come in and slay one of these henchmen, for example. So now these other henchmen will go together and speak up to the people above them, and it travels up to the top type of thing. So over time, depending on who you're killing of these kind of named characters in game, the system's going to adapt to who really impacts your journey the most. So like if you kill off henchman A, his leader under the A kind of system is going to become more powerful with anger when you guys face each other. The story is going to change based on that as well. So some of the interactions as far as voice lines, some of the interactions as far as move set, that will change based on interactions in the game. So it's like very much a depth of ecosystem in a sense. Based on who you take out in game, it can impact different areas, can impact different lines, can impact the way the game itself plays out. So Warner Brothers Interactive said, hey, we invented this. We've taken some ideas from other people, but overall, we invented the Nemesis system. We are now going to patent it. So they came out, they officially got this patent after those last few previous attempts, and now it is a thing. The biggest mixed feedback coming out is that Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor in general are games that have taken so many ideas from other games. A lot of people talk about the stealth in them coming from like Tom Clancy and Assassin's Creed. A lot of people talk about the way the game itself plays out coming from Assassin's Creed in general. So you look at a lot of these different franchises and the ideas that they, in a sense, took from these other franchises and kind of adapted into their own, now saying, hey, we took your idea, we made it into our own, but now you guys are not allowed to touch our Nemesis idea moving forward because we now have this patent for it. So Jon, again, turning it over to you, there is a lot of feedback on this on both sides. What are your thoughts on them patenting a system like this Nemesis system here in Shadow of War?
First off, it's very confusing. There's a lot to unpack. So essentially, it's a progression system that is controlled by the user. So like you were saying, Joey, if you have 10 henchmen that report to other people and so on and so forth, if you kill all the henchmen, then obviously the next level of bosses you face are going to be even harder. If you find a way to bypass it, you're stealthy about it, and you don't have to kill them, then when you get to the next level, it's going to be easier. And that's one of the easiest ways to break it down. It's a system that is not unique to Warner Brothers. Just like you said, it's a system that has been used in a lot of stealth-based games, a lot of Assassin's Creed games. Like you said, Tom Clancy's another great one. The question comes down to is this system so unique that it can be patented under Warner Brothers Interactive and the other versions of this still exist? I think it does. I'd be kind of curious to see how strict this is going to be enforced. Is Warner Brothers going to go after, Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed for having a stealth-based game now? I don't think they are. I'd be kind of curious to see if this is going to be really kind of code-based, how Warner Brothers kind of redeveloped and borrowed these ideas and packaged them into their own version. But I can understand why gamers have a concern. It does borrow a lot of themes. It borrows a lot of mechanics and a lot of engines from other games packaged into this one unique but not unique system for Warner Brothers. So I can understand the criticism. This is kind of like when someone tries to patent or trademark a word, a very common word that everybody uses, and it gets backlash across the media and everything. Like, I can't even think of one. Oh, prime example. The term Super Bowl. If you're not like a marketed affiliate of the NFL, you technically can't use that term to promote your show. Obviously, that's why it's like, you don't see anything popping out from all these different media outlets. They always say, let's talk about the big game. Let's talk about what happened yesterday in the championship game, because the term Super Bowl pushed together to promote the championship game is trademarked, and you technically have to pay a royalty to use it. And yes, that is a very, very good point there, Clue, or pardon me, Prophet in chat. The Ohio State University, you're 100% correct. Them putting the in front of it, when you talk about Ohio State University in its proper title, you do have to say the Ohio State University. It is absolutely dumb. It is stupid. It is a gigantic meme, especially in college sports. But that's how they can get people to actually talk about their university. That goes by the old adage, no bad publicity is better than no publicity. Well, there, mixed reviews there as well. So Warner Brothers obviously getting a lot of people to talk about this idea by securing it through a patent. If they start suing people for likeness to this system, then yes, I'm going to have a major, major issue with this. And this could lead down a rabbit hole where we start to see developers trademark and patent and just register every system possible. And we can only see progression in that developer going forward instead of the entire gaming universe.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You guys developed a lot of this aspect. I think the Nemesis system that they use in Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War is probably the most advanced of any of them as well. The other thing I didn't mention is if you kill one of those higher up level bosses, then some of those henchmen can get upgraded within the atmosphere as well. So in a sense, it's like top down and bottom up or whatever the other pyramid is. So it ends up being fluid each way, depending on who you end up taking out as a target. So there's a lot of cool things with that system. But yeah, again, I don't like the idea of gate locking other game developers in the industry by using something like a patent here. Now, the other thing here, John, that I don't really have it in the notes, but it just came to mind with Warner Brothers games, they ended up putting out a bid last year for an acquisition. They were looking for around $4 billion to $6 billion. Now, this year, they decided to hold on. Later on in that fall, they carried that over, and it looks like they'll probably still hold on to that game division's AT&T over it. I think it's a possibility they could look to sell later down the road, though, as well. Now, with the sale that includes this Nemesis system patent, we look at a potential value boost as well. Because with something this high tech as far as that RPG open world aspect, with a lot of games looking toward that system, now having a patent on something like this, I don't know if it adds $1 billion to your value, but it definitely doesn't add anything small because it is a big deal, especially depending on how long they got that patent for as well. So it's one of those things to keep in mind as a lot of these different fire sales are currently going on. Now this not only locks it up for your game ecosystem, but it could make you more valuable as an asset to other companies as well. Last but not least on this, John, and I think a lot of our listeners are probably too young to really realize this. There was a similar style patent a while back by Namco, and that is why video game loading screens do not have mini games today. I think it just expired. It was either last year or the year before. So at one point, there was pretty much every game that had a loading screen had some kind of mini game involved into it until Namco patented that for one of their games. And then no one outside of Namco was able to end up putting in mini games in load screens. So you end up with these long, minute and a half load screens with no mini games or nothing to do except look at a picture. That's because of Namco and a patent that went through a few years back.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you have like a game like FIFA where you have a training session that you can do while your game loads. And I think that's actually something fairly recent within the last 3-4 years for FIFA. So that is something pretty big there. But yes, loading screens, nobody likes those. I would love a mini game while my game takes 60 plus seconds to load.
And I don't think FIFA counts because it's not technically a loading screen.
Correct.
Like it's a mini mode or whatever between or while loading is happening in the background. So I don't think it quite counts. But yeah, if it's like actually like a pure unloading screen instead of a picture and something's moving around, I want to say it was like a year ago that it ended up getting the patent ended up running out. But yeah, so we went something like a decade or two without any kind of loading screens in there. Okay, next one is another hot topic, Terraria. Its upcoming release on Google Stadia is no longer happening. Google Stadia, we talked about a lot last week, so we won't dive into that whole mess going on there. But diving into a new mess involving Google Stadia, the Terraria account on Twitter stated, "We have not added anything new to our only YouTube channel, Relogic Games, in several months. However, we randomly received an email saying there was a TOS violation, but that it was likely accidental and such. The account would not receive any strikes." So they're like, okay, we got this. We understand something happened. Maybe it was a mistake, whatever, but nothing's going to happen from there. Well, 3 days later, something did happen. The account continued on to state that 3 days later, the entire Google account, YouTube, Gmail, all Google apps, even all purchases made in the Google Play Store were disabled with no warning or recourse. The account links into many business functions. As such, the impact is quite substantial. So again, No, they got a little warning. Nothing's going to happen. Then this all happens 3 days later. Then a couple days ago, I believe it was yesterday, we saw the lead developer, Andrew Spinks, come out stating that he had lost access to thousands of dollars of apps on his phone. His G Drive data was completely gone, no YouTube access, and his Gmail address of 15 plus years was no longer accessible either. So not only has it hit the developer account of the actual game Terraria, then it went on to hit individual developer accounts as well. And then he goes on to say, I've absolutely had nothing. Oh, wait. I absolutely have not done anything to violate your terms of service, so I can take this no other way than you deciding to burn this bridge. Consider it burned. Terraria for Google Stadia is canceled. My company will no longer support any of your platforms moving forward. So, John, we saw Google Stadia come out. They said, hey, we're no longer going to do any first-party games. Got it. We're still going to be around. We're going to do our best to support third-party developers and allow them to publish on Stadia. And a week later, we have this come out where we have Terraria, which is a very big game, a huge community behind Terraria. It's not Minecraft, but it is definitely up there. I think it's top 25 at the very least, if not top 15 as far as player population. So it is a big game with a huge following, and it's third party. So now after Google made this statement about supporting third-party developers, they come out here and they've ignored this particular account for months now as far as getting this solved. It's still out there, and they've just decided to burn this bridge at this point. So Google support not coming through in the clutch at all. Any kind of Stadia representatives, I don't know where that communication is either. But John, we predicted it that Google Stadia is probably on its way out completely. This to me is just another sign of getting to that end.
Is there a dumpster fire GIF I can put in the chat, or GIF, or whatever you heathens want to call it other than GIF? I don't care what the creator calls it. Yeah. People may have had some hesitations with Google Stadia after they made that announcement last week that they're going to solely go for third-party developers. So they're not going to have their in-house developing team anymore. And that may or may not have been the right call. Okay, we get it. Google Stadia is struggling. Every time we bring them up here on the show, Joey, it seems to be mostly negative because they don't believe in positive press because they continue to shoot themselves in their foot. Joey, this was a double shot to both feet. How can you go out? You cannot sit here and tell me this was not a targeted attack. Okay. You throw a strike up against their YouTube channel. Yeah, I get it. Your algorithm changes based upon everything. You hear YouTube creators complain about YouTube constantly changing their TOS and the algorithm to get their videos promoted and everything, and what is a strike, what isn't a strike. Yeah, I get it. You change your stuff because you have all those higher up people that want to make sure they don't get sued. Makes a lot of sense. But you go and you strike Terraria, their YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden you shut down everything. Gmail, YouTube, Google Apps, purchases made in the store. You literally handcuff them. And you're going to sit here and say that, look, we're not going to develop games. We want to invite third-party developers to our platform. I'm sorry, Joey. Even if I'm like a Blizzard Activision and I see this, I don't want anything to do with them. I want nothing to do with them. If this is the way they're going to if this is the way they're going to treat developers, there's no point in working with them. Your platform sucks, to put it simply. You have a lot of issues going on internally, and now you're going to start burning bridges with developers. You know what? Just shut your door, Google Stadia. There's no point in you doing this anymore. Let someone like a Microsoft take the cloud gaming service and run with it, because obviously they're a lot more professional than you, Google, a multi-billion-dollar company, are at handling this entire Google Stadia disaster that you've put out there. Just close up shop right now and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many disconcerting levels to this. But for me in particular is the fact they came out with this statement. We are going to support third-party developers. We're going to continue to bring them to Stadia. We're going to support them in every way we can, blah, blah, blah. Less than a week after that, a story like this comes out with Terraria, and they still can't get in touch. They have all these people echoing it on Twitter. To my knowledge, nothing has been reached out to yet. That could be wrong at this point. But it's just crazy to me. And this is not just any developer. This is not an indie developer. I mean, it is an indie developer, but it's not like just a very small indie developed game. It is Terraria. It is a very popular game out there. And it is a game as a third-party cloud platform that you do not want to lose. If someone like an NVIDIA GeForce, a Microsoft xCloud, a Amazon Luna all have this game and you don't, that's a huge hit. mean, it's the same thing with Minecraft. Like when PlayStation didn't have Minecraft, there were so many people thinking like, do I even want to get a PlayStation if I can't have Minecraft? Which is crazy because PlayStation has tons of other great exclusives on that platform. But at the same point, Minecraft is one of those games that is extremely popular, has tons of players on it. And again, Terraria, a little bit of a different comparison, but it's no slouch either. That is a very popular game. And to lose it, especially over something silly like this, I don't even know. It doesn't even seem like it has any kind of backing. I've had my issues with Facebook. I haven't had any issues with Google. But this whole TOS thing, as well as the lack of support with some of these online companies, is very disturbing. So again, I'm glad that most of the ones I've dealt with so far, like I had no issue with Google in the past. That was more on their Gmail side. So I don't know about this in particular. Microsoft, I've had no issue with either, but there are definitely some companies out there that I have had many issues with when it comes to support and the activity around it, especially something like this where everything around the studio, their YouTube channel, their Gmail address, everything is connected to this. And yes, they probably have a few other means to get some communication out, but you can have a Google Drive with 10 years of data in there and not being able to access this. Maybe you paid for Google Drive expansion as well. Like this just sucks. And I think I'm with the developer 100% on here, John. Like it seems like Google is not responding. I think they've pretty much burned the bridge on this release. Now, does this get you your Gmail account back? Probably not. But at the same point, I stand behind them, their decision here to reverse the idea of releasing this game on Stadia.
Yeah, and look, this isn't like something that just happened last week. Okay, this has been going on according to Spinks's Twitter account since January 16th. We're talking almost one full month. Google has not been able to fix this. They haven't been communicating with them whatsoever. Several news sites have reached out to Google for the past week. They haven't gotten any information from them. So yeah, if you're the developer, if you're the average Joe gamer and you're reading this and you're excited because Terraria is coming to Google Stadia for whatever reason you ever want to buy into Google Stadia, you're sitting here going like, why? Like, I'm sorry. Anytime I've had an issue with any of my Google accounts, I usually hear back within a week, maybe 2 weeks at the latest. This has been almost a full month. Since January 16th is when this started happening, when they got locked out of the account, when the strike started occurring on their YouTube channel. I'm sorry, Google, you need to get better. It's as simple as that. You need to get better. And if you actually want to take cloud gaming seriously and you want Google Stadia to be something more than a gigantic flop than what it currently is, change your ways. Apologize. Publicly apologize. Eat your crow and move on with it. But I'm sorry, it looks like you're kind of lost right now when it comes to Terraria. Not going to happen. And anything else from this developer, from this news article as well, is not coming to your platform either. So again, Google, either do one of two things. Correct it, publicly apologize, get them back access to their account. This guy lost thousands of dollars worth of apps on his phone because he was locked out of his Google account, this developer. Thousands of dollars. Can you imagine if like 14-year-old little Bobby over here gets locked out of his Google account on his phone because he can't play anymore? Like, that's devastating for people. Like, there's no rhyme or reason behind any of this other than Google apparently just thinking they're untouchable. Well, guess what? Time to close your doors. Google Stadia's trash anyway. Move on with your time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear what you guys think in chat as well. I don't think Google publicly apologizes for this. I just think they let it go. I don't think they say anything about it. Maybe they unlock the accounts at some point, but I doubt they make any kind of public apology on it. I honestly think they're killing off Stadia. I really think this, we said it before, but I think the letter was more just that stability in a sense. Like, we're going to continue to save for it for a little while, maybe keep some subscribers around, but I think it's on its way out. I really don't see a ton of support coming for this. Amazon Luna is gaining power. Microsoft xCloud is already huge. You have NVIDIA GeForce as a streaming service doing extremely well too. There's rumors that PlayStation might even be looking to some kind of mobile streaming service too. So it feels like with all these other heavy hitters out there, and again, Google being a giant tech company, but a tech company that's a little bit newer to the games realm, it didn't work out originally. They rushed their product out. Microsoft came out a couple months later and absolutely slammed it as far as just the game accessibility on xCloud. So now it's just in that weird spot where it doesn't really know what to become. They've got rid of first-party developers. Third parties there, but the support apparently isn't based on this Terraria stuff. So we'll have to see where it goes. But my hopes and dreams of Google Stadia are about where they began, very little and very far away. Let's talk summer gaming, guys. So last year we had like 3.5 months worth of Summer Game Fest led by Jeff Keighley. E3 did end up getting canceled last year. There's no in-person event. They didn't adapt in time to have an online event either. This year they are planning for a digital E3, so we're looking around summertime. The dates they have in mind at the moment are June 15th through the 17th. Again, nothing has been super approved at this point. There's been I guess rumors and murmurings of it here and there within ESA. But as far as the overall approvals, they have not been given as of yet. So at the moment, they're targeting those dates. They're targeting a few different ideas, but nothing has been set in stone. Quote stating the ESA's intention. The ESA's intention is to hold multiple 2-hour keynote sessions from game partners, an award show, and a June 14th preview night with other smaller streams from game publishers, influencers, and media. Again, the main event is targeting a June 15th through the 17th date time period with 2-hour time slots for your big developers. Those would be like your Microsoft, your Sony, Activision, EA probably will have a slot, Nintendo. Again, I don't know who's all going to come. I believe Sony pulled out to the last in-person E3 that didn't end up happening. Maybe they come back for an online version. But I could also see a lot of these people just cutting the cost and saying, we're just going to run our own. Like you have Microsoft, they've done it in their own theater the last couple of years. They've done their own camera work. Do we really need a publication like an ESA, E3 thing in general? Does it give us enough marketing power to warrant it? And I think that's a question a lot of these developers are going to ask this year. On top of that, we also have Jeff Keighley's Summer Games running as well, John. So again, it ran over the course of like 3.5 months last year. This year, it will be condensed to 1 month. We don't know when that month is as of yet, but it will be happening too. So now as a developer, like let's say Microsoft or Sony, you have to decide, do I want to do digital E3 if it happens? Do I want to do Summer Game Fest if it happens? Or do I just want to run my own thing? Or do I want to do two? Or do I want to do all three? So there's a lot of decisions out there and a lot of money potentially being thrown around this summer for gaming as far as announcements, developers, acquisitions, all that good stuff coming this summer.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if the hardest decision you have is to think of which digital conference you're going to participate in, and if that's the biggest worry you have, I think you're in a pretty good place. Why not do all three? Like, why not spread it out? Why not get people hyped? Why not tease something that's going to be coming at the next conference also? You give a little bit and you leave a couple breadcrumbs that makes the person want to tune in to the next event as well. I think that'd be great. It's a great marketing tactic. You know, you get people talking about what it could be. It gets your social media hits up even more and more and more, and people are talking about what it could be. It'll get people on Reddit talking about it. Just do that. Just release a few stuff here. Leave a couple breadcrumbs. Second event, boom, a little more breadcrumbs. Then boom, you have your own event, massive grand finale, if you will. And then there you go. Yes, I get it. It costs a lot of money, but hey, you know what? It'd be exciting.
I don't know if that I don't know. I don't like it, to be honest. I feel like it's just too much. I get it. You want to have Summer Game Fest. It worked out decently well last year. There's a lot of complaints about how long it was, but if you condense it, maybe not as much. A lot of people want E3 back, but I think they want the idea of E3 in person, that excitement, that live audience. I don't think they understand quite how different it'll be in person or online versus in person. The other thing being, I think they just want everything compact. I don't think they want multiple months of announcements like we saw dragged out with like Sony in June, and then Xbox and Microsoft in July, and then a couple other little conferences here and there. And it felt like the excitement was there, but it was just like going dragged through the mud for a couple weeks. Like Sony conference, woo, great stuff, awesome, cool. Then you go like 2 weeks with nothing, and then 3 weeks. And then you eventually get the Microsoft conference at the end of July, and then it's like, woo, exciting. And then people have their mixed reactions about Infinite and da-da-da. And then you go silent for a long time. And then you have another little segment. I think Sony did something in like the fall that wasn't like super well done. So it felt like a mess. And again, it was COVID. People were trying to transition, try to figure out how to do these events online versus in person. So I get that. And I don't put a ton on developers and publishers for that. At the same point, there's a lot of announcements out there and there's a lot of things being worked on by all these companies, but I don't know if there's enough to do 2 or 3 events of stuff being worked on. Like maybe if they... Microsoft, for example. So there's a number of games that are releasing later in 2021 as well as early in 2022. Maybe they make one of these conferences focusing on gameplay and different ideas for those games that are releasing sooner. And then the other conference, we get teasers and, I don't know, dev panels or something talking about games coming in the future. I really don't know. People want to see gameplay. People want to see trailers. People don't really necessarily want to hear people talk. But I feel like the only way to do multiple events of these is to have a lot of talking involved too. Any other thoughts on this Summer Game Fest shenanigans thing?
They'll do enough talking for us.
They'll do plenty of talking. So it should be exciting. And we'll get a couple events before the summer as well. So keep an eye out for spring events too. It should be at least one from Sony, and I think at least one from Xbox, as well as maybe one from EA as well. So keep an eye on that because there should be some stuff coming here soon. We'll go ahead and skip this one, John. I'll bring that up later. Let's head into some game leaks because we are getting a bit later in this episode and we still want to hit on some League of Legends action. The Prince of Persia. So these are game leaks, teasers, and updates. Some of them vary between what you want to take from them. We'll tell you what we know for sure, as well as what we're getting from stuff like 4chan. So you have to take that with a giant grain of salt. This one comes straight from the source. The Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake has delayed its release to an unannounced later date. We believe this is partly COVID-driven based on what the team has stated. But on top of that, John, I think this is a larger scale overhaul that they're not really telling us about. They did say somewhere in the quote that they hope to keep the game faithful to the original but fresh at the same time. This, to me at least, leads me to think they're doing some more work on the game, not necessarily just because COVID put them behind schedule, but because something just doesn't feel unique enough. I think this trailer was shown in the summer, if I remember correctly, maybe in the early fall, but it was one of those ones that was really critiqued graphically as well. A lot of people thinking it looked too much like the original and it just didn't look fresh enough to warrant it as a remake. I think some of the other stuff is Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy, gosh, there's too many of them. Was it 7 that was just remade?
I think so.
I know, I can't even remember.
There's so many.
I feel like it was Final Fantasy 7. I could be wrong. Someone will correct me. But it was just remade and it did extremely well. Like it changed up a couple things from the original. It kept like that same faithfulness to the original though. And a lot of people loved it. It sold very well. I think Prince of Persia looks at the success from that game as well as the ongoing pandemic and is able to kind of link that together in what they want to do with this game moving forward. So I think you will get a little bit more of a deep remake than they were originally thinking. Some graphical updates as well. And the other interesting part is they did not give us a release date. So at the moment, it is delayed indefinitely. It's still being worked on. It's still coming out. We don't know when that'll happen. It seems like given COVID and given everything else going on, they really don't want to give one in case they have to move it once again. Anything else you want to mention on Prince of Persia? Did you ever play the original?
Oh, yeah, a long time ago. that was a hot minute.
That was a hot minute. Back when there were loading screens with mini games on them, John was playing Prince of Persia.
Yeah, sure, totally, yeah.
Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka recently teased a new project to be revealed around summertime in an interview that has since been removed from YouTube. So, guys, this one went up. It was on a YouTube page. I believe it was AI Hub that it was originally done on. Akira came out, a little bit of an interview here and there, and again, it has been removed. But one of the big quotes people are pulling from it is based on this particular game that the music is being composed for, quoted saying, "I think it's the one you're hoping to hear about." So it's been going on. I think we mentioned on the show like 8 months ago that there's a Silent Hill game in production, Silent Hill 2. It is in production. I can't confirm there's a Silent Hill game in production, even though no one wants to state it publicly. It's there. It's happening. The idea behind it is just they're not ready to release it as of yet, and it's going to be a little bit different than what people are expecting. There's some back and forth about it possibly being cross-platform. A lot of people not super happy about that in the rumors that are public at the moment because it is traditionally a PlayStation franchise. It's one of their homemade franchises that is a big horror game. And with Microsoft adding a ton of different horror titles, they don't really want to see one of their big staple horror games going away. Now, cross-platform doesn't necessarily mean it goes to Xbox either. It could be PlayStation and PC. It could be just PlayStation and PlayStation 5 and 4. Cross-platform in today's day and age can be taken so many different ways. Personally, I do believe this releases on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Nothing really to back that up completely. I could see a timed exclusivity deal on PlayStation, but I do think eventually this does come to Xbox as well. I think we'll hear more about this one, I think, in the summertime, and that's what Akira says here too. From what I've heard, I think it's going to be at an E3 conference or at a summer game conference or at whoever does what conference sometime early in the June time window. So keep an eye out for that one. But Silent Hill is in development, and we should hear more on that later this summer.
Yeah, one of the 500 digital online gaming conferences will be exposed to this upcoming summer.
For real. We're about to do LvLUp Live Summer Games Edition over here. We're going to have T-Spans on a mic. He's going to talk about... Hey, it would bring in the views for sure. We're coming downhill. Battlefield 6. We've leaked a lot about Battlefield 6. This one comes not from us, but from Reddit. I believe most of this is true because this is kind of what I'm hearing as well from some of my sources. Most buildings will be completely destructible. Really strong physics engine in this. John, this is really cool. So think of a building and you shoot out one corner of the building. So like the foundation of the building, you're going to take out the bottom right corner or whatever. As you do that, the building is going to tilt depending on how you hit it. So you can actually knock buildings down completely and tilt them based on the physics game or physics engine within this game. If you hit a tire a certain way, that tire will blow out and the car will spin a certain way. So they have taken physics to a whole nother level in this game, supposedly. It's going to be really deep as far as how you knock these buildings apart with everything being destructible. Now, where points are held, so like your capture points in like a domination, for example, war with the territory points, that will all be stable. Those are not going to be destructible. Again, it does take away a little bit, but you got to keep those points kind of together so that action can play out the way you desire there. But everything else completely destructible. So if you want to just spend your time blowing up a house as opposed to taking out the enemy team, be our guest and do it. Just make sure you join the other team because we would like to win the match.
Yeah, I think it's cool. The more realistic these games can get, the better. The idea of, if like a battalion is coming down like Main Street and like, they're between, this intersection, there's a gigantic like 12-story bank there. Take out the corner, have the building collapse on top of them. It's like next level fighting. I love it. It's real world tactics when it comes to war. I like the fact that it's now in a game. Like this engine sounds amazing. That you could technically collapse a building on top of troops or on top of the other team, if you will, to like really play a big factor in whether your team wins or loses. I think it's great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it adds so much strategy as well, because not only can you like crush a team, like John was saying, depending how you take a building out, but also think of ways you can close up areas. Like maybe you're on point C and there's this giant building over here with 2 ways to come into this area. If you knock down the building one way, then you eliminate the ways the opponents can enter and you're able to set up more strategically on a defensive. So I think there's a lot of different cool strategies that can come out of this as well. The multiplayer will be based around 4-player squads with multiple squads making up a unit. We've seen a number of games do this before. Battlefield in general does a similar play, so keeping similar with their basic multiplayer in that sense. Classes will include Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon. This one's interesting, John. This is one I have not heard yet, but again, it is on this post. EA, so grain of salt here, crossplay should be available according to this particular rumor for Battlefield 6. We're looking at PS5 consoles, Xbox Series consoles, and PC all being able to play with one another. Again, my hesitation here is with it being EA. I think eventually they have to move this way anyway, but it is interesting. I think it could happen. I'm just always hesitant whenever crossplay and EA are mentioned in the same sentence.
I'm hesitant anytime EA comes up, period. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be cool if PS5, Xbox, and PC can all play together. Obviously, you're going to have the discussion of can console gamers keep up with PC gamers if they're in the same lobby. That's a discussion that'll be going on until the end of time. But I think it's great. You create a larger community that way that's more inclusive, not console exclusive, and doesn't segregate the player base based upon their gaming platform of choice. I think it's smart. But Joey, I'm with you. I'm with the rest of the gamers when I say I don't trust EA or anything they say until it actually happens. Simple as that. So cool. Thanks, EA, for the little tidbit there. But until it happens, I don't believe you.
Yeah, I feel like crossplay has been considered for FIFA for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of my hesitation comes in. But at the same point, I think they've felt a bit of hurt with Battlefront 2 not having crossplay. I think they see the success of Call of Duty Modern Warfare having crossplay. So with Battlefield 6 coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if those two factors kind of lead into them going that route here for this game. One more thing, John, and this I had to add in because I know it'll excite you a ton. They will be adding in a battle pass and a free-to-play mode that is believed to be a battle royale as well. So, John, you get the double whammy here from Battlefield 6 because we know you love battle passes, we know you love microtransactions, and we know you love battle royales. So they are coming through nice and in the clutch here for Battlefield 6, really working their way up to exactly what you want.
Give me another reason why I shouldn't buy this game. Simple as that. Yeah, I have nothing against battle passes. I think it's fine. You're asking a player to grind out a battle pass to earn limited time in-game cosmetics, items, banners, so on and so forth. I'm fine with that. That makes sense to me. everyone's pretty much doing it now. It is what it is. They want to make sure that you spend time playing their game. They want your dedication to their game. I get it. It makes sense. Battle Royale. Yeah, because again, it's not saturated enough as it is. If you're a Battle Royale fan and let's say like you're invested in Fortnite, what's going to pull you away? What's going to pull you away from Apex? What's going to pull you away from, pick your Battle Royale flavor of choice, if you will? What's going to pull you away to play the Battlefield 6 version? I mean, that's my thing is like, you can only change Battle Royale so much. And with the market already being super saturated, it feels like everything's already been done. So you keep putting Battle Royales out there, and then the player base complains that the matchmaking takes too long. Well, yeah, because everyone's pulled in 80 million different directions when it comes to Battle Royales. Look, I get it. You want to be like the cool kids. You want to hop on the cool kid bus. You want to have a Battle Royale for The Sims and everything else out there. What? That'd be awful. Battle Royale for The Sims. But, I get it. You want to have a Battle Royale. You want to try to repeat the success Fortnite had. Well, guess what? You're not going to repeat the success Fortnite has. Fortnite is the juggernaut. It is absolutely absurd how well they do things with their Battle Royale. Apex kind of threw them for a little bit, but I'm sorry, I don't see a Battlefield 6 throwing a Fortnite, an Apex, or even a Call of Duty Warzone off that much. We're just saturating this genre even more and more, dividing the player base even more. And the idea of a battle pass as being that hook, line and sinker kind of tactic, I just don't see that happening when everyone is still playing Fortnite.
Yeah, I'd agree for the most part. I think one little area that could be accessible here for this, again, not a huge portion of the pie, but Call of Duty Warzone has a ton of cheaters, especially on PC. I think this is one area, if they can come through and really give some strong PC support to this particular Battle Royale, I think that could pull in some PC players that are kind of on the fence with Warzone. At least I think both of us, John, haven't really played Warzone in quite some time, mainly due to running into those cheaters was just not fun. It takes up a ton of space on the hard drive as well. So there are some factors that I feel like Battlefield could come in knowing that Call of Duty has some weaknesses and build upon those. The destructibility is something I think could also be really cool. If they can carry that same destructibility from their multiplayer mode into what we could have here at the Battle Royale, if you can knock buildings down to kind of put them in each other's paths, I think that could be a cool aspect to it. Maybe you include vehicles as well. So there are a few different things. Again, Call of Duty does a number of these minus the destruction part, but I think there are a few things that can be capitalized on in this genre. Not a ton of players are going to be pulled in by these things, but at the same point, there are a few different areas to at least look at. Moving on to Star Wars, we've covered a lot in the last couple weeks, so just one small update here. Based on a new rumor, we have a small idea of what EA's third Star Wars game in development could be. The new rumor states that the game has been in development for a little over 2 years on Unreal Engine 4 and is currently set for a Q4 2021 release on all major platforms. So coming out later this year, kind of in that October to December window potentially. It's going to release on all major platforms except the Nintendo Switch. On top of that, it's rumored to be a smaller scale shooter project. Think something along the lines of the scale of Squadrons. Again, Star Wars Squadrons came out, had a lot of hype at the beginning, and since then has quite fallen off. It feels, I'm not going to say an incomplete game, but there's a lot of aspects as far as like map variability, gameplay mode variability that is kind of lacking in that game. So this could be similar in that sense, but at least in scale of map and really just gameplay in general, it's going to be closer to that than something like a Jedi Fallen Order or a Battlefront. So think small. Don't get your hopes up too high like a lot of people did for Squadrons. On top of that, we don't know if it's a first or third person shooter as of yet. John, I'm a little mixed on this one. I got burned by Squadrons a little bit. I think the story is pretty decent. I think the gameplay is all right. I don't think it's like world changing in the maps. Throwing a few different asteroids in here and there, maybe changing a color of a mist isn't quite making it a new map. So I feel like that was a little bit lacking there in Squadrons. I hope if this one does come out, it does end up with a little bit of live service report or support in that area if it's multiplayer. If not, I hope the story is complete enough to keep it interesting. At the same point, it is a small game, so I'm going to go in with much lower expectations than I did for Squadrons, and I do hope this ends up being good, and it's Star Wars, so I mean, any kind of Star Wars content is at least worth looking into and possibly trying.
Yeah, I think I maybe played a whole whopping 15 minutes of Squadrons and was very underwhelmed by the game. I feel like that was a game that had a lot of potential, And EA, being EA, really just missed the mark on it. Coming out saying that this game is going to be as is, really missed the mark. And then once everyone started refunding their game, EA comes out and goes, oh, we're going to go ahead and support it also. Kind of, not really. We're just going to say that because we want you to buy our product. This is definitely concerning. If they're making comparisons to their new third Star Wars game, comparison to Squadrons, I'm nervous. Because,
now, just to clarify, this is not from EA. This is not.
Yeah, it's a rumor. It's a rumor. Yeah. So, if that's the rumor, if that's the way everyone is leaning towards this, EA is already 5 steps down. Like, you're already 3 steps behind because your initials are EA. But you're going to be down even more because Squadrons was such a bust. Like, the game itself isn't bad. If you can justify the money that goes into that game, and you're happy with it, then by all means buy it, play it, enjoy it. But it isn't what it should be. A lot of gamers realize that. EA even knows that, and they just don't care because they're banking on the name Star Wars bringing in the money. If the rumors are true and their third Star Wars game is anything along the same lines of the effort that they put into Squadrons, I don't understand why Disney would continue working with EA in anything Star Wars, because if anything, it hurts that franchise even more by having EA put out these games that make the fan base upset.
Yeah, but they've also put out games that people are very happy about. I mean, like Fallen Order did extremely well from Respawn under EA. So they've hit kind of both spectrums. They've hit the really good. They've hit the not so great. Again, Squadrons as a base game, I don't think is bad. It just, if it's going to be multiplayer focused, I think it has to be live service with a game like that. There needs to be new ships, new maps that get added. I think there's just so much of a missed opportunity. Like The Mandalorian, it's popping off right now. Why not add a ship into the game? You go, I don't know, have some kind of new movie that comes out, like similar to like Solo, for example. Maybe you throw that version of the Millennium Falcon in. You have Rogue One. Like, there's ships in that game. Like, we know more Star Wars series are coming. Like, Ahsoka is coming. We know a number of, there's so many different ones out there. But with these new series, there's no reason not to release a new map and a new ship with every single one of them. The fact that EA does not want to do that is where I have the issue here. If it's multiplayer focused, you have to add new content to keep it fresh. If you have all the ability to do it, knowing all these titles are coming out, you directly work with Disney and Lucasfilm Games, there's absolutely no reason you can't have this information ahead of time to code in. It comes across lazy, I guess, as someone who enjoys the Star Wars franchise and who wants to enjoy these games. To not be able to do that in that sense kind of comes across lazy. And with this, again, we don't know if it's a multiplayer game. We don't know if it's a single player game. If it's single player, I'm completely fine with it being done, shipped, good to go on day one. If it's multiplayer, I feel like there has to be some kind of live service aspect. Again, I don't want to pay for loot boxes. I don't want to pay for a ton of content. If I have to pay for a little bit of DLC here and there, that's fine. But something to keep gameplay fresh is the only way to keep gamers around in multiplayer games, it feels like, in today's day and age. Yeah,
you keep it fresh. But Joey, here's something real quick, okay? The Mandalorian, massive hit, cultural hit. Like, among Star Wars fans and non-Star Wars fans alike, people absolutely love The Mandalorian. Joey, now correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the only video game that has really capitalized on the success of The Mandalorian has been Fortnite. And that's it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And all it is was a skin and a floating Baby Yoda next to you. And you had to get it through the Battle Pass, which made people buy the Battle Pass and grind the Battle Pass. Fortnite continuing to understand what gamers and the pop culture fans want. Meanwhile, people who are actually knees deep in the Star Wars universe, like EA, nothing. Not a thing. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's bad. Panicking Pat in chat does bring up Galaxy of Heroes. That is one game with Mandalorian content on a mobile game as well. So, and that is under EA, so we know they're capable of doing it. They've shown us before, at least in one version. So I would love to see more of that come here. I think it's just, this is public information, but they had a bounty hunter game that was made, Star Wars 1313, and it was canceled before it ever came out. When EA ended up taking over, or Disney took over, or someone took over, it ended up getting canceled. So there has been ideas of bounty hunter-based games in the Star Wars universe out there a few different times. 1313 was the one that got farthest along. So it could be one of those things that we eventually see bounce back. I think now is the time to capitalize on it. The Mandalorian is coming back for another season. possibly another season after that. You already have that connection with Disney, so you can ask that question now. Might as well start planning ahead for it. Ahsoka is a huge character when it comes to Star Wars, especially for people who watch like Clone Wars and Rebels. Now is the time to start thinking about stuff like that. It's probably past the time, but do it sooner than later. Get in there, start talking to Disney about these potential franchises that might explore her story a little bit more, or might have a way to dive into some kind of aspect, whether it just be a map and game for Battlefront, whether it be a Starfield somewhere for Squadrons. There's just so many missed opportunities within this universe that is already created. Like when it comes to game development, a lot of the time you're creating the ideas, you're creating the stories and all of that. And you still do some of that. And we saw it with Star Wars with Fallen Order, but just look at all the other content out there already being created. Like there is no reason that that Squadrons cannot put in more Star Wars vehicles. There's so many already out there in lore, in TV shows, in movies, in books. I mean, I feel like if we had Eric on the show, he could probably talk for an hour on the different vehicles they could put into that game. Like, it's one of those things that's like, it's already there. It's already created. Characters, there's tons of them. Battlefront, you could easily put out a character or two a month and it would be no skin off your back. There are so many characters in Star Wars. And yes, it's going to take time to develop them. I get it, but you're not designing the lore behind them. You're not designing their look. They already have a look. You're just going to build it into a game engine. Again, not saying that's easy, but at least you have somewhere to start. It's just laziness is the word that keeps coming to mind. Like, I feel like it's there. I feel like they will make money on all of this as well. Like, this is practically free money in front of them here. Yes, you're paying for developers. I get it. But it's there. It's creatable. It's easy enough to do that it just frustrates me as like a missed opportunity in so many of these games. So we'll have to see what this ends up being. Again, we spent a little bit longer than I thought John and I would on this topic.
Sorry.
But again, this will be that third Star Wars EA license. We should probably hear more about it in the spring or in the summer, and then we'll get an idea before it releases in Q4 2021.
Can't spell laziness without EA. Yes, there is an E and an A
kind
in
of.
there. They're not together, but it's in there. Trust me.
Now I'm like thinking about like,
I
what?
can see you thinking. I can see you spelling
I was like
out
spelling
above
it out. I was
your
like,
head.
okay, I see the E and the A, but they're not together. Good times there. So yeah, laziness, EA, Star Wars, we have it all. Halo Infinite, just a quick update. We talked a lot about the Inside Infinite update last week. So just to bring up a quick recap of what we have so far, then hit a few upcoming things and some LCS and wrap up today's episode. So a recap, this one comes from Klobrille on Twitter. That's KLOBRILLE if you guys want to check him out. He is a well-known insider as far as Xbox Game Studios goes. He does a good job of keeping updated with a lot of the public information mainly, but a few little inside things here and there. So far for Halo Infinite, we know we're going to get a classic art style with Halo 3-inspired equipment and Halo Reach-inspired customization. I think this is big, John. Again, they're building upon the customization to a different level, but I feel like Halo Reach had pretty decent customization within that game, a lot of depth to it compared to other Halo games, and people like to customize. We see people buying skins in games all the time. This is another way to do that with a few different, whether it be skin packs, colors, symbols, etc. That customization will be there. And I'm so glad they're going back to Halo 3 with the weapon pickups. I hated the fact in Reach you could start with sprint, or you could start with that like ground pound thing or a jetpack and all that just from the start. I love the idea of picking it up. I think it provides a lot more strategy around the map if you have to pick up the invis, the overshield, whatever it is. The grappling hook potentially for Halo Infinite. I think, again, that strategy level is so much higher when those pickups are on the map, and it really makes you as a team decide on the priority of, do we go to the objective? Do we go to this particular power weapon, et cetera, without everyone automatically starting with one of those abilities. So I think that is a great decision. I'm sure you did this. I know I did this. Split screen co-op was so fun in Halo for both campaign and multiplayer. So that will be happening again here in Halo Infinite, up to 4 players. So if you guys want to do couch co-op in campaign, couch co-op on multiplayer, it is now a thing. If we all go over to John's house, we can play as Fiasco 1, Fiasco 2, Fiasco 3, and Fiasco 4 and pwn some noobs online. Welcome back for Split Screen. We're going to have an open Halo Ring environment to explore with full day and night cycle being implemented. John, this is one thing I'm really excited about. I like the Halo campaigns. I think they're fun. I think they're very linear overall, though. This now coming with a little bit more of an open world approach, as well as adding day and night in with the environment changing based on both, I think is something really cool to see how Halo explores.
Yeah, I love that idea. There's a lot of games that implement day and night cycle rotations that really affect the gameplay because of it. I like it. It's more realistic. Certain things happen at night that don't happen during the day and vice versa. I think it's a nice way to keep people on their toes. Maybe, you're on a mission that is a lot more dangerous at night. Maybe you want to hunker down and wait for the night to roll past and, before you continue on your mission, come daybreak. It adds a different element into it. I kind of like it. It's going to make the gamer think of what they should do and what their strategy should be going forward for each individual mission that they're on. I like it. I think it's a very unique thing that isn't groundbreaking, but it's enough change to really make a gamer like be thrown off of what they want to do. I like it.
Yeah, and it is groundbreaking for Halo, at least. This is
Yes.
something we've never seen in those games. While we've seen it in a few different games, this kind of breaks that linear aspect that we've seen a lot of Halo. I think the other cool thing, John, and kind of vice versa what you said, is maybe you take a stealth mission at night as opposed to in the day. If you're infiltrating something, maybe you sit it out and wait for that night to kind of fall, and then you eventually go in at a dusk time. I think that could be a cool thing too. The other thing is wildlife. With the whole live planet, the whole live atmosphere of everything kind of living in the environment, I think your wildlife probably changes up at night. Maybe your sound effects, you hear more owls or whatever at night. You see more like mice scurrying. I don't know what it'll look like, but I think it is a cool idea to see how they do implement that. On top of that, we're going to have the most powerful forge tool to date. This is, again, another really cool thing coming from the Halo franchise. It's kind of like modding in other franchises, but it's built in-house. You can build tons of different maps, tons of different shaders, tons of different game modes. Pretty much everything you can think of can be built within this thing. I have seen maps recently that look as good as maps that come out in like Call of Duty multiplayer. Like the ability that people have come up with in the different texture packs they've modded into it, it's absolutely phenomenal. And this is just for like Halo 5 based stuff on Xbox. I can't imagine the power of that on PC with this Forge mode and Infinite. I think we're going to have some really, really cool custom games. And again, this comes down to the whole Battle Royale idea as well for me. Like maybe they don't release an official Battle Royale. There's no reason someone can't make their own Battle Royale. But on top of that, we have the ability to get new stuff like Griffball once again. Like the fun of Griffball, the fun of like zombies in Halo. These are all modes that started out in people's creations. I remember spending times on racetracks and obstacle courses and things that people just create in their own mind. So I think we have the potential to see what could be the next Battle Royale style game. Not in that Battle Royale, but that same overtaking of the world potentially with someone creating the new Griffball or the new zombies or whatever it does become here in Halo later down the road. So really excited for that too. Fully customizable controls. So if you're on mouse and keyboard, if you're on controller, instead of choosing presets, you can choose everything now. Set all your keybinds however you want them. If you want to, I don't know, pick up an item by pushing in your analog stick, be our guest. That will be an option here in Halo moving forward. And last but not least, just to repeat, free to play. This multiplayer, again, the campaign you're going to have to buy, but the multiplayer is completely free to play and cross-play enabled for console and PC. You can turn it off if you don't want to play against PC players, but that option will be there and up to 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X as well. Again, John, I feel like every time we talk about Halo, I just get more and more excited for this game, and I just really hope 343 is able to deliver on it. Few upcoming things, not to spend too much time on these either, but Steam has launched in China as of today. The launch includes 40 games with connections to Steam's worldwide infrastructure. So not every one of those games is going to have public access as far as outside of China, but they are making some roads with already 40 games in there, 2 of those being Dota and Counter-Strike, if I remember correctly, that are kind of like the flagship titles of not only Steam and Valve, but also of this initiative as well. On top of that, EA will decide the fate of Anthem this week with a meeting scheduled to review the next version of the game. I was recently talking about this on Twitter if you guys want to check out some of the discussion there. I'm mixed on this, John. What are your thoughts on the idea of Anthem coming back as potentially like an Anthem next or being scrapped completely?
Oh, Anthem. So much potential, so much hype that you weren't going to be another Destiny. I feel like Anthem still has a chance to redeem itself. I feel like, if Destiny can come out with Destiny 2 after they promised not to do that, do the exact same thing they did in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 and the player base leave and the player base start to come back because they started making those changes. I feel like Anthem has some hope, some redeemable qualities to it as well. Joey, when we played it, it was a very fun game. I enjoyed flying around on a jetpack. I enjoyed the different challenges we did together as a team. The game itself is fun, but it was just, to me, it gave me a lot of Destiny vibes, and a lot of things I didn't like about Destiny felt like they were rearing their head again in Anthem. So I feel like if they're going to make a lot of changes and they can bring it back and develop it into a better kind of game, a better storyline, just a better overall experience, I think they have a chance to redeem the Anthem name in that series.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with the Redeem train as well. I think they just need to make it go silent for a while. I think if they choose to do Anthem next, I think you just say, hey guys, we're going to overhaul certain systems. We're not going to say anything for a while. When we come back, we're going to come back stronger than ever. I feel like this game had so much hype around it. It should have been a much bigger title at launch. And it came out, the core mechanics were amazing. I mean, I would still argue the flying in that game is some of the best flying we've ever really experienced in video gaming as far as core mechanics go. The only issue for me was the fact that there was just no endgame content, as well as the fact that it just didn't feel like a BioWare style story. It didn't really have that depth that games like Mass Effect had, where every choice kind of mattered. In this one, you're making choices, but it just, there were some that mattered here and there, but it really just didn't carry the depth of like the Mass Effect choices. So if they do end up reworking it, I hope the story is a little bit more lore rich. I hope more of the choices actually mean things and can completely alter the state of the game. I also hope there's endgame. I mean, when Destiny 2 came out, it had a terrible endgame as well. I ended up stopping playing it. They did eventually come out with expansions that kind of brought it back to life. But the one thing that Destiny had that Anthem did not is they already had that community from Destiny 1. You have tons of millions of players coming in from Destiny 1. They're going to support your game. Yes, some will be salty for a while, but they're going to stick around for the most part. They're going to see what Bungie can do with it. With EA here in Anthem and BioWare, people are excited. They're coming from, I mean, most of them probably came from Mass Effect, if I had to guess. But they're coming in, they're trying something new. But Mass Effect is a single-player game. This is a multiplayer game. It's a loot shooter. People are not used to that, and they're not necessarily going to stick around for that game, especially if it doesn't have that deep, rich lore and deep, rich end-game content that they expect from something like a Mass Effect or a loot shooter in general. So it kind of missed both marks. I think you go silent. I think you bring it back. I think you eventually bring it back as like, I don't know, Anthem Revived, Anthem Recore, Anthem something. I have something good on Twitter that I type, but I can't remember it. So if you guys want to go check that out, do that somewhere. But I do think the game still has life. I think the core mechanics are there. The other thing, John, if EA does decide to get rid of it, I'm curious if they would ever consider selling it to someone like ZeniMax Online, for example, coming over to Microsoft and the Bethesda deal. I think could be someone that could do really cool stuff with Anthem. Blizzard obviously does really well with WoW. It's, again, a different system, but it could be one that could eventually pick it up. You have The Division doing all right online as well. So there's a number of other people who've done loot shooters pretty well. Borderlands is another one. I'd be curious if we could eventually maybe see one of them work on this if EA chooses not to as well. BlizzCon kicks off later this month, February 19th. I believe that is next week or the week after, later on in that week. So keep an eye out for that one. I think it runs just a couple days, like February 19th through the 21st, if I remember correctly. But that is coming up, and there should be a slew of announcements coming after that as well. Fresh Minecraft Dungeons content is headed your way on February 24th with the launch of... John, your name just appeared on my notes, and I can't see. There we go. Flames of the Nether, the game's most ambitious free update yet. It will include a feature called Ancient Hunts, and this one's interesting, guys. It's going to be procedurally generated Nether endgame missions. So it's going to be one of those things where a lot of games struggle with endgame content trying to produce it quick enough. Minecraft is going that procedural generated route where it's just going to create itself. So we have this content. It's going to procedurally generate. The map will always be different. The content being dropped will always be different. And again, they'll expand on this idea as they move forward into other expansions as well. But again, that comes out February 24th, Flames of the Nether. It is free to play, and Ancient Hunts will be a new game mode within that. And last but not least, it is now official. Forza Horizon 4 is headed to Steam on March 9th too. So you can play it on Xbox. You can play it on PC, I believe, through the Windows Store, or it's probably on Game Pass as well. Will now be heading to Steam. So if you guys want to pick it up there, March 19th is that date. Okay, this super long episode that we have even cut out a ton of content on is coming to an end here soon, John. But we have to touch on some LCS and LEC before we do so. How did the LEC end up going this past week?
All right, let me go. Oh, the LEC. Okay. So your notes had the LCS going first.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. We used to do LEC, don't we?
I know.
Then your pogo stick.
We do.
Pogo stick.
Let's see here. Don't you talk about my pogo stick here live on the show? That's just...
Some of the new listeners probably don't even know that.
No, they probably don't. All right, Joey, February 5th for the LEC. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Because
standings.
You just want standings? Okay, cool.
Let's go standings first. Yeah.
Standings first. So Rogue in first at 6-1, G2 Esports alongside a Schalke 04, 5-2 in second. In fourth place, three-way tie because it's Europe, Excel, Mad Lions, and Joey's team Fnatic. Seventh place, SK Gaming at 3-4, Misfits Gaming in eighth place at 2-5, and in last place, a tie because, you can't be in last place alone in the LEC. Australis and Team Vitality, ninth place, 1-6.
Bada bing, bada boom. So looking at a few matches from last week, John, I think the two to highlight here, Schalke and Rogue. Schalke came out and they beat G2 Esports, and then they go on to beat Rogue here in this particular week. That's big for Schalke. They can just continue to go on their win streak. I believe they're, I want to say like 3 or 4 wins in a row now. So Schalke kind of not necessarily leaving off where they left off in the playoffs of summer, but finding that momentum once again early on and taking down 2 top teams in G2 and Rogue. They did lose to Fnatic, who is arguably that number 3 team up there, but taking down 2 of the top 3 is a huge deal for Schalke. They look like they are steamrolling at the moment. The other one to touch on, John, in my opinion, is our game of the week, and that's Fnatic and G2. I believe we both predicted G2 in this one, and Fnatic did come out on top. Now, depending who you listen to on Twitter, there is some internet connectivity issues. There was some packet loss supposedly going on, which I believe. I guarantee there was some kind of internet issues. They paused. They got it worked out, and I'm sure it wasn't perfect. Do I think G2 would have won this game without that? No, I do not. I think Fnatic absolutely dominated them. I think they came out with a very strong draft, and I think they played it out exceptionally well. And when it comes out of that pause, Riot has already come out and said that there were, I'm not going to say no internet issues, but it was very much playable on and very much not an issue according to G2 at that time, that they agreed to continue playing the game. So take it as you are. Fnatic did come out on top in this one. Do I think that makes Fnatic a better team? No, not necessarily. I think G2 is still chock full of a ton of talent. I think they're still incredibly powerful when it comes to their squad. I do think they are beatable, though. We saw it with Schalke beating them. We saw it with Fnatic beating them. I think both these teams still have a lot of room to grow, but I do think Fnatic wins this game with the draft they went in and with the way they executed it. Any other thoughts on that? Did you see that game? That game is so good.
I actually did not catch that.
Okay, you got to catch that game. We might do a little live watch at some point with John. That one's spicy. Bwipo's Volibear absolutely popped off.
I heard about that.
Monster to behold. It was unbearable for G2 in this particular matchup. Oh, we couldn't miss that opportunity. Looking ahead, John, are there any games and matches in particular that you're looking forward to for this week ahead for LEC?
I quit. I'm done.
Oh my gosh.
I'm walking off the show.
Okay, what are our LEC matches you're looking forward to, sir? What sticks out to you the most here? I think one in particular, I'll throw one out and then you can throw one. I like Mad Lions and Rogue here. They're kind of like your 2 potentially top 4 teams here. They've had spicy matchups in the past. Rogue coming off a loss to Schalke, Mad Lions, leaving a little bit to be desired on their team as well for the young team they are. Both these teams come in with a lot of potent power behind them, but both still looking to prove themselves. Rogue still on the top of the table, but again, a loss to Schalke here, and Mad Lions could be looking to capitalize here early on in this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the tale of the 2 bounce back games here. G2 Esports versus Rogue. Will G2 be able to bounce back from that tough loss to Fnatic? Again, internet issues, maybe, maybe not. Rogue, like you just said, that bad loss to Schalke, are they going to be able to bounce back? These are 2 teams that have a lot of hype around them, that have high expectations for placement in the LEC. Are they both be able to bounce back? And if they do bounce back, we're in for one crazy matchup here between G2 and Rogue.
Absolutely. And one last one to throw in there is the Schalke 04 up against Mad Lions. Both these Mad Lions matches looking pretty good this week. Again, Mad Lions as a top 4 team, Schalke taking out 2 of the 3 top 3 teams as well. They lost to Fnatic, but they did beat G2 and they did beat Rogue. How will they fare up against that arguably number 4 team here in Mad Lions? That'll be answered this week as well. So again, first day we have Mad and Rogue. Second day we have Schalke and Mad, as well as G2 and Rogue running it back for some exciting action this weekend. With that, hopping over to the standings of the LCS, in first place and on Cloud9, we have Cloud9. Tied up there at 3-0 is 100 Thieves. Dropping down to third, we have Evil Geniuses still plotting their way to the top of the table, with Team Liquid slowly moving their way up, sitting in third as well. In fifth place, a big tie, a almost European tie here. TSM, Immortals, Dignitas, FlyQuest, and Golden Guardians all tied at 1 and 2. And then, unfortunately, counter to the logic of the way the table moves, Counter Logic Gaming is the foundation of the LCS here, both in terms of being around a long time as an organization and being at the bottom of the table, holding the rest of the teams up. So still some improvement going on there. And I believe they're still having some visa issues as well. So hopefully that does get resolved and they're able to kind of bounce back a bit as the split goes on. With that being said, John, are there any LCS matches that stuck out to you a ton? I think our match of the week, if I remember correctly, was Cloud9 and TSM. So we can touch on that one a little bit. Cloud9 did come out on top of that one. What were your thoughts on that overall match?
There was nothing to touch on. TSM, what has happened to you and your organization. My goodness. It's like Bjergsen steps away and all of a sudden it's like you forget how to play League of Legends. That was an easy clap for Cloud9. TSM, I mean, there's a lot of issues with what's going on with that team. I feel like there's a real lack of leadership on Team Liquid, not Team Liquid. Oh boy, TSM. It wasn't the game I was expecting. And it was kind of interesting too, Joey, is the pre-match package here that the LCS put out talked about what this rivalry has evolved into. Both teams have rosters that have turned over from the glory days. There's no longer players on the active roster from when C9 and TSM was this massive rivalry in the LCS. Now it's just really a fresh team, and the rivalry is really between the organizations themselves and the fans. Like the players themselves even made comments, and even players formerly on C9 and TSM made comments that, really the rivalry isn't between the players anymore. It's really between upper management and the fans. So they don't feel that same kind of pressure when they play against each other. So it kind of asks the question is, especially when it's lopsided like this, when C9 was so dominant over TSM, can there really be a rivalry if the players don't feel it, and if it's really lopsided favoring one team as it is after just one game? Again, they're going to be playing again later on in the split, but that is an interesting package they put together before this game even started.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting one. And it didn't quite live up to the game of the week hype and potential. But our other game of the week did end up living up quite more to the hype. And that was 100 Thieves up against Evil Geniuses on Friday. This one went pretty deep. It ended up going 15 kills apiece for both teams. A lot of back and forth. We had 4 dragons for the side of EG, 3 dragons on the side of 100 Thieves. So very much depth as far as the back and forth action here. As the two kind of 3 and 4 teams in that lock-in tournament, we didn't get a third place match, so this was kind of the unofficial one here. 100 Thieves did come out on top of it, taking the win over EG.
Joey, I will say the one good news for TSM fans, and I realize I hit on TSM really hard, and it's not fair, especially after they went 0-6 in Worlds and absolutely embarrassed themselves as an organization. Joey, the good news is that after week 1 of the LCS, yes, they did technically lose their first 2 matches as well. So they were on an 0-8 losing streak. Yes, I get it. Okay, boo-hoo. Joey, they beat CLG in what might have been one of the biggest early wins so far in week 1. One of these teams had to be 0-3. And Joey, the pride of the TSM fan base out there said, you know what? It is not going to be TSM. And if that means we have to raffle stomp CLG, we will. And they did. And they got the win. So they are not last place. They're second to last.
Not last place, but we'll have to see if anything changes this week ahead as we have a big slate of matchups. John, there's a lot of big games in particular. I'll list a few out and see if you have any others to add. When it comes to Friday, February 12th, I like EG and Cloud9. I think that should be a really good matchup between 2 top teams over there. Moving on to Saturday, Cloud9 and 100 Thieves, I think has a lot of potential as well. I think Cloud9 comes out on top of that one, but 100 Thieves should push them quite a bit. TSM and Team Liquid, not as exciting. Team Liquid probably steamrolls them here, but again, it's a little bit of that historical rivalry if you're into stuff like that. Immortals and EG could be interesting. Immortals taking out TL and then kind of falling apart last week. I think EG wins here, but again, we could see if Immortals has some extra life in them. Over to Sunday, TL and 100 Thieves, I think could be a really good match. Again, 2 potentially top 3 teams facing off over there. And I think that'll probably wrap it up for me. As far as the game of the week, is there one in particular that stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I kind of feel like you have to give it to C9 and 100 Thieves, battle of the 2 3-0 teams. Will they still be 3-0 going into Saturday the 13th, or will they be 4-0? Chances are yes. Evil Geniuses will be a challenge for C9 on Friday. I do think FlyQuest going up against 100 Thieves, I think that's a win for 100 Thieves, so they'll definitely be 4-0 there. Cloud9, again, against Evil Geniuses, that will be a tougher matchup. I do expect Cloud9 to win as well, which sets us up for the battle of 4-0. Someone has to lose. So that's the matchup I will be picking as my game of the week for the LCS.
I like it. And who are you picking in that particular matchup? I think that's a clean
C9,
choice, sir.
C9, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, they've looked a little shaky here and there, but I can tell you what, Fudge has definitely come alive since the lock-in tournament, definitely bringing on a ton of doubters in that tournament and then kind of showing them who the boss is when it's come to regular season play. Fudge looking pretty extremely good when it comes down to it. I mean, he has not had a bad scoreline yet, really coming out, making his presence known on the Rift as well as on the scoreboard. So Fudge really kind of silencing a lot of those haters early on in the season. He does have a challenge up against Someday and 100 Thieves, but I do think Cloud9 comes out on top in this one as well. I was going to say it's best of 3. What's it going to be? But it is a best of 1. So we'll both be picking Cloud9 at 1-0 in this one in particular. So, guys, that will wrap it up here for our LCS and LEC preview. Just one other thing to note here. Astralis, the mid laner Nuke Duck, is taking a step back from the starting LEC roster due to some personal reasons. Former Fnatic Academy mid laner Magi Felix, also a top 10 challenger mainstay. He's had, was it, John, like 4 accounts in the top 10 for EU Challenger. So he is definitely up there. Very talented player overall. He's had some stage fright issues in the past. But with everything being online, that is not necessarily an issue with in-person events at the moment. So he'll get his chance here in a starting roster. I think he played maybe once for Fnatic. I don't know if we've seen him on any other LEC rosters as of yet, but he will be spending a little bit of time on that Astralis starting roster to see how he can perform on the main stage. Again, very talented player. If he can overcome those kind of stage fright issues, and it probably should be easier given an not in-person environment for him to overdo that in, we could see a very, very talented mid laner again coming out from the EU side. I think that does it, sir. Again, we had to cut out some notes here and there, so we'll hit on those a little bit later on that are not as time pressing. We'll bring those up later in the week. One other thing to note, we will not be having a Thursday show this week. I unfortunately am not available, so no Thursday show. We will be back on Monday, though, at our regular time of 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we will see you guys then. And, of course, we'll be on the Discord server, and you can find that at discord.me/OTN.
See, we do that, and I have everything set up for the Thursday show because even though you told me this pre-show, Joey, I am a person who gets stuck in a groove, and I just did everything like there's a Thursday show. So this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Absolutely freaking love it. So let me go ahead and just quasi-fix everything as we do this live. All right, Nation, we did it. That does it for this extra thick and juicy edition of LvLUp Live. But before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are part of OTN Media. If you haven't already done so, make sure you follow the show on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to our show on the podcast feed, leave us a review. LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from our listeners and viewers so much. There's multiple ways you can get in touch with us. Joey, what are those ways?
Absolutely, guys. LvLUp Nation, head on over to Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live. That is LvLUP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media as well on Twitter and Facebook at OTN Media and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, if you have not found us here live on Twitch yet, podcast listeners, come give it a look. Come see us live. Come have fun and chat. That is twitch.tv/OTN Media. The show broadcasts Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, except this upcoming Thursday. Next show will be next Monday, still at that 8 p.m. Eastern Time slot. All right, make sure you tune in this upcoming Monday, not Thursday like Joey said. It is going to be Monday, February the 15th, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Slap that sub and follow button here on Twitch to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your viewing pleasures. We'll catch you all on Monday. Have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online. And as always, LvLUp.